As a solo programmer and solo founder, it's so easy to get bogged down on a project, to get overwhelmed. And today's show, we're going to cover something called backward or reverse planning, which I found really helpful personally to help me complete really complex software and business projects. And at the end of the episode, we're going to do some coaching to help when things blow up and you get stuck. So let's get to it.
If you are motivated to learn to code the 21st century web, from plugin products to micro SaaS, welcome to the Plugged Into Programming Show with your host and professor, Jamie Rowe. Jamie is a computer engineer and solo founder of the wpplugincollege.com. And now, over to you, Professor Jamie.
Backward planning. This is sometimes called reverse planning, back planning, or backcasting. Like instead of forecasting, you're backcasting. I just usually call it backward planning. It is a really cool, different spin on making a project plan. And this could be used for software, just working on just the software part of what you're doing, or it could be your entire business. I've used this very successfully over the years in jobs and on side hustle projects. And it is an invaluable tool, and we're going to cover the practical aspects of it right now. So let's get started. Okay, we normally use chronological planning. This is the normal human way of looking at things. So we start in the present and we move forward towards our ultimate goal. And so you can think of it as you're going to go on a trip to the mountains, Smoky Mountains in a cabin. So you are where you are now. You have to work and save up money. You have to make reservations. You have to figure out how you're going to get there. Let's say you're going to drive. You're going to have to get gas in your car. You're going to have to pack your things. One thing after another. It may take a couple of days. It may take you months, but you start at the beginning and you get to the end goal. Now, it's very easy to focus on your first steps because that's what's immediately ahead of you. It's harder to focus further out. And one of the problems is it's very easy to focus on obstacles because we're thinking in our minds, we're thinking from the beginning to the end, and things that are blocking you can really get to the front of your mind. So that's just something to be aware of. So this thing called backward planning, it is you get a piece of paper and you start writing down what your goal is at the top. That's your end point, okay? And then you work backward to the present time. We're going to go through the details of how this works. The benefits are that you become aware of realistic steps right away, because you'll see how this works, but you're going to become aware of the things that you actually have to do to reach your goal and then all the other steps backwards. And one of the interesting things, and this has been studied by people, it actually increases motivation because you start out with the end goal in mind, not the first steps. So it can actually increase your excitement level and your sense of urgency. So let's go further into this. Okay, so the basic process is pretty simple. You start out with the goal. Now this could have completion date and times. Again, if this is a software thing that you're working on that's going to take you a week, or if this is a micro SaaS project or a plugin project and a business, and this is going to take 6 months or 2 years, you might have a different kind of a completion time frame. But you're basically going to start out with what it is that you want to accomplish. And then you look backward from that point to the step that has to happen right before you can able to get to that goal. And then once you get that established, then you look back from that step towards the present moment. You keep going back until you get to where you are now. So you may have things that you don't know how to do. You may have resources that you need to get. It's endless, but you can start at your end goal, work back to where you are at the present moment. So let's go through an example here. So let's say you are a solo founder and programmer, and you want to have 100 paying customers on your micro SaaS business. Okay, and so that's your goal. You have a definitive thing here. You want to have 100 paying customers. And where am I now? Well, I don't have a micro SaaS. I don't have an audience. I don't have a website. I don't have anything. This is just my idea. I'm standing here with an idea. So the first thing to do is to just go back one step from the goal. So if I'm going to have 100 paying customers on my micro SaaS business, I need to launch my micro SaaS business into an email list of let's say, we can even put a number to it. I want to have 1,000 people on my email list so I can launch into some potential customers. So that's a doable step there. And then to be able to launch into an email list, I must build my email list. And let's say I'm going to build it by having an opt-in gift on my website. And so that's the step before that. So obviously, if I'm going to have an opt-in gift on my website, I could go back another step. I have to make the opt-in gift, okay, the PDF, the giveaway, whatever it is. And I also have to have a website. So you can see, you can go back and back and back and back with the actual actionable steps that you need to take when you reverse this. Now, another thing is, you're going to say, well, there could be other things that have to happen. Well, obviously, you need some sort of way to collect payments, let's say with Stripe. So you need to set up a payment system in your micro SaaS, some code, a plugin, maybe, whatever it is. And so this could happen in parallel with the other things. You could be building up your email list while you are also working on your technology part of it. So in order to set up the payments with Stripe, let's say you have to open a Stripe account. Let's say you have to get the PHP code or find a plugin that will do the coding, that will do the transaction for you, and so on and so forth. So you can have multiple things that run in parallel as well, and these might join up further down. And ultimately, it's going to come back to where you are right at this moment. So you're starting out fresh, and then you have this plan that takes you up to the goal. So how it really works is, you could say, well, I could just make my chronological plan, no big deal. That might be true. But one of the things that this does, it shifts our perception of the flow of time and the process flow. And there's two concepts I thought were really interesting that I was reading some studies about this. And one is we have this thing called ego motion. So ego would be thinking of myself, me going toward the goal. I am moving towards the goal. I'm moving forward through time. Another way that some people look at things is time motion. So you're watching time flowing toward you, like you're standing in a stream and the water is flowing towards you. And what backward planning does, it kind of shifts around your perception. So you will see things that will be like aha moments in there, like, oh, I didn't realize I have to do all of these different steps in order to get the opt-in on my website, in order to build the email audience, in order to launch my product, in order to have 100 paying customers. So it can help you to set your plan and your expectations in a more realistic way. And then from my own experience, I have used backward planning just to get started on a project, okay? Because I've gotten used to using it a lot. One of the things you can do once you've got a plan, though, is as things become clearer as you're executing your plan, you can make adjustments. You could redo things. So don't ever think that you're making a plan. It's one and done, and you just lock it up, and that's it. No, it is the plan itself is a living thing. You have to look at it that way, because as you go further, as you start moving from where you are, actually executing those steps up towards the goal, you'll see things in a different light. So one thing also is it helps you, from my experience, not to get hung up on details. How am I going to make the opt-in? Well, that you can take that one step and break it up into sub-steps on each day. So that's where you break your steps into your to-do list. Later, I'm going to do some coaching. I'm going to talk about the difference between I should do list, I should be doing this, I should do that, and your must-do list. So just keep that in mind. But you can break those steps down into actionable plans for a certain day or a week or whatever your iteration cycle is. So I'm just going to talk for a couple minutes from my latest project, because this is very fresh in my mind. This plugged into programming show is actually from my wpplugincollege.com. And this is where I'm working on courses and a community, so to speak, for people that are doing side hustle startups as solo founders and solo programmers. But as I've developed this project, I definitely have been using backward planning. It's really helped me break through on certain parts of the project at different times. This has been a 2-year project. So to put it in perspective, I began 2 years ago from this point of this episode, and I had to develop plugins that run both on the wpplugincollege.com website and also on the hands-on learning lab. That was really my major focus at the beginning, because my whole purpose of this is to help teach people, and I wanted to have an easy-to-use experience for people who maybe don't have all the tools and IDEs and other things out there, and I just wanted them to get their hands on some code and actually work on things, because that's my whole goal, is to make people feel empowered to build a plugin for WordPress, or to build a micro SaaS, or a WAS, or all sorts of other cool business things from WordPress, elements of WordPress. So one of the things that I had to do is not just that technical work. I had to do audience building. And this is where it really helped me, because not being as I'm very skilled in the programming part of it, even though it's taken me a long time to build these things, because I did this as a side hustle project with other things going on at the same time. The audience building, that's where it really helps. Like in my earlier example, where we wanted to have 100, paying customers and so on. If you set yourself a goal like that, and then you realize, oh, I have to build an audience, I have to build awareness of what I'm doing. Otherwise, you can have the greatest project completely done in the world, and there's no traffic, no awareness, no customers, and that's no good. So you have to really think, it's not just the technology that you're working on, it's the whole system of your online product, your online business. Another aspect of my thing, which is still ongoing, is course development. Some of you may have taken the mini course that I have already launched on there. There's a free mini course on 7 different ways to make money through creating plugins and micro SaaS products and things using WordPress as the framework. So that's my opt-in to build my audience. But I'm also refining and continuing development of my main premium course, which is to actually build, students enroll and then build a functional micro SaaS project with the rest of the students, and you get the hands-on learning and then apply that to your own project. So, I have literally 3 main threads of action. And I was able to execute all three while working other projects and, developing my skills, especially in audience building. And hence, I'm here on this podcast and YouTube show. I hope that this is helpful to you. I always encourage you to join me at wpplugincollege.com. And our next segment is going to be on some coaching that relates to this subject of planning.
Coaching.
One of the number one things that people ask me who are starting a programming project or maybe starting up their online business based on a SaaS product or a plugin product is, I've put a plan together, and I'm working on things, but I never seem to make any progress. And what I'm going to do now is some coaching. So if this rings true to you, keep listening or watching, and we're going to try to motivate you a little bit here, because this is a very common situation. And one of the number one reasons this happens is we who are solo programmers and solo founders, we multitask. Okay, and that is fantastic because we have so many different things we have to get done, but we really can only work at one thing at a time. So single tasking is key. So what I want you to do is look at your plan, and do you have an actual step that you're working on right now that's going to bring you closer to your goal? If you are busy, really busy all the time, looking at your emails, checking your analytics, watching YouTube videos, whatever it is that you're doing, is that getting you one step closer to your goal? If it isn't, then stop working on those for a while. Focus yourself on one task out of your plan. So look at your plan and find one of the tasks and just execute that one step. You might have to break that down into your to-do list. But what gets hung up on is, I should do this. I should be doing this step. I should be doing this part of the plan. I should be coding this section, this function for my plugin. I should be creating this marketing page. We have to move things from the should-do list to the must-do list. You have to have a sense of urgency. You have to have a sense of deadline. And really, the entire reason we put together any kind of a plan, a backward plan or whatever, is to create what we always call an MVP, minimum viable product. And really, you may have to reevaluate what you're trying to accomplish. If you cannot execute your MVP, you're never going to complete this project. So you may have to make an adjustment. Maybe you've created something, or you're trying to create something that is beyond, a first product. So you might need to scale it back. So readjust and then execute towards that goal. Remember, done is better than perfect. Okay, you want to complete something. This is particularly true in software, because software is always a system. If it's a plugin for WordPress, if it's a micro SaaS site, if whatever the product is you're trying to create or your business, it is a system. And if you don't have the entire system complete, then it's not finished. And you have to steer yourself onto the critical path. That's really what MVP or a backward plan or whatever is trying to get you from where you are now to where you want to be at the end of the plan. And the only way you're going to do that is to execute step by step. And this is another thing you can try to do. Challenge yourself. Look at that plan that you have in front of you and find the part that you least enjoy. Find the step that you know the least about. Find the part of this continuum of this plan that is going to be your stumbling block, because you may have more than one, but you're going to have something on there that you're just going to dread doing. I challenge you. Pick that one step, break it apart, and start to execute it. Put that on your must-do list. We have to stop telling ourselves the stories that we have in our head. I'm not smart enough. I've got too many things to do. I don't have enough time to work on this plan. I don't have enough time to work on this software. I don't have enough time because I have a full-time job. I have a family. I don't have enough money to buy all the fancy software I need to do this. You have to stop telling yourself these stories. What you have to do is realize that you are a creator, you are a founder, you are a programmer. With raw tools, you have to challenge yourself and execute the steps that will get you to your goal. I believe you can get to that goal. One thing that separates us from 99% of the rest of the people out there is that most people will not step up to bat. We're in a game, and if you don't swing that bat, you're never going to hit that ball. You have to take that bat and swing it. Now, you're going to miss sometimes. You're going to hit a foul ball. Sometimes you'll hit it, but you've got to try. If you do not try to take a swing, you are 100% not going to succeed. If you take swings, you'll learn to adjust. You'll learn to make adjustments to your plan. You'll learn to get more skills that you need. You'll figure out time slots that you can work on this project. Wake up a half hour early, even though you're dead tired, and sit down and dedicate a half hour towards working on your project. You know, we are smart people, we are strong people, and we can do this. I believe you can do it. I've seen other people, I've seen myself do things that I didn't think I could accomplish, because you have to focus. Focus on one thing at a time. Don't let the entire plan overwhelm you. Execute, execute, execute. Keep pushing that boulder a little bit further up the hill, and you will get to the top. And that's my coaching for today. And I hope that you will execute and pick one thing and get it done, and then take a next step and a next step and a next step. See you up that hill.
To join our conversation and get the show notes, please visit us at thewplugincollege.com.